the last 10 homicides that we've had in the last 7 days, that this is an effort that we all have to take on. That if we know individuals that are involved in violence, if we know individuals that are carrying firearms, if we know individuals who feel like their lives are at risk, that are involved in violence, if we know individuals that are carrying firearms, if we know individuals who feel like their lives are at risk, that are involved in violence, that are involved in this violence, to put guns down. We also have to learn to manage conflict without resulting to the use of firearms. Now, when we have events in our downtown and people who come to peacefully go attend a concert or a venue and unfortunately have to encounter gunfire, should be unacceptable to this entire community. Continue to say everybody deserves to live in a safe community. We can be vocal about certain things, but I just don't understand why this community cannot be vocal about 100 lives lost. We can scream and yell about anything that the police department does wrong. But in this time, we can't speak up about what's plaguing all of us, and that's gun violence. I just ask that everybody come together collectively to say that this has to stop. I say this every time we have a press conference. I'm tired of appealing before you. We got to do the work. I'll be out in the community meeting with people, but I need people to step up and grab your loved ones and tell them, put the guns down. We want them to live. We want them to be alive and free. And if they continue to pick up firearms, they put themselves at risk, and they put our entire community at risk. With that, I'll let Lieutenant Chavis talk about the homicides that we've had in the city of Oakland since last Monday.
My name is Frederick Chavis. I'm with the Oakland Police Department's Homicide section, commander of that section. On last week, on Monday afternoon, we had 2 homicides in which a male and a female were both murdered in the presence of 2 young children. The homicide section is actively investigating that incident, and if there's anyone who would have information regarding that incident from the 3400 block of 68th Avenue, we ask that you come forward and speak with the investigators at the homicide section. Later that week, we had a homicide that occurred on 57th Avenue. The incident that occurred on 57th Avenue was an incident in which a young man was killed in the neighborhood. Investigators and patrol units have since made an arrest. We are going to be presenting that case for the district attorney's office for charging today. Later that evening, there was an incident that occurred in East Oakland in which gunfire erupted and a young man was killed by a vehicle trying to flee the scene. That incident is being investigated as a homicide. Even later that evening, there appeared to be a number of individuals who fired high-powered rifles, AK-47 and AR-style rifles, assault rifles, at an individual, striking a middle-aged man and critically wounding him. That occurred in the 5700 block of Los Angeles Street in North Oakland. Also during the week, there was a middle-aged man who was struck by gunfire in the 1200 block of 46th Avenue. During that incident, the gentleman succumbed to his injuries. And we're asking that anyone who has information regarding that homicide, that they come forward as well to the Oakland Police Department's homicide section. The chief has outlined the incidents that occurred over the weekend. We're asking that anyone who has information regarding the party that occurred in the 2300 block of Legion or the incident that occurred in the 350 block of 17th Street, that they come forward. There was also an incident that occurred just this morning outside the Coliseum BART station. If there's anyone that was in the area or that was near the BART station or otherwise that may have information regarding that homicide, we ask that you contact the Oakland Police Department's homicide section at 510-238-3821.
Next up, I'm going to have Captain Roland Holmgren talk about our 7-day enforcement operation that the Violent Crimes Operations Center will be doing to address the individuals responsible for violence. And the relentless follow-up will be taken on to try to bring these people to justice.
Thank you, Chief. It's Captain Roland Holmgren, ROLAND HOLMGREN. As the Chief said, I am the commander of our Violent Crime Operations Center. For the most part, what we do is my job is the after effect. The after effect when somebody makes an unfortunate decision to pull the trigger. The after effect when somebody decides that they should use some sort of violence, some sort of fear to go out there and terrorize a community, commit armed robberies, armed carjackings. I'm the after effect that with my officers is going to use intelligence and information to come and find you, right? To constitutionally make that apprehension so that you can't go out there and harm the community anymore. So that children can go in front of their homes and play and not have to worry about stray rounds coming through their front yards. So what we have done is we have officers dedicated to specifically violent crime. Since we started in early April, we've made around almost 40 arrests for homicides using intelligence, information, and precision-based policing to go out there and just find not just those that are committing minor offenses, but those that are out there hurting our community, those that are pulling triggers and making senseless decisions to use guns in our communities. 24 hours a day, we have officers that are assigned in our crime gun intelligence task force that is listening for radio calls, that is providing almost real-time information to our patrol officers so that they can go out there and safely apprehend those that are involved in these particular incidents. We've got 7-day-a-week coverage when we're out there, not just in any particular spots of the city, but where the intelligence, where the information, where the community needs us the most. So we are dedicated to going out there and impacting those that are willing to pull triggers. Right?
So our ceasefire strategy continues to be our primary strategy for reducing violence. Our approach is always collaborative. It's going to be with our Department of Violence Prevention, providing support and services to those that are willing to accept those services, and also really leaning on community to be a great presence in everything that we do, from our night walks, that community leads, as well as our direct communication through custom notifications and other means. So it really is a collaborative approach. We hate to reach a point where enforcement needs to be leveraged, but in this case, it's clear that there are some out there that will not put down guns, and we have to address it through accountability. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll take whatever questions you might have, or any of our command staff.
So it looks like City Council is going to vote for a police academy tomorrow. Is there a staffing shortage that those academies could help address violent crimes?
Yes, there's a severe staffing shortage. Right now, we have 695 officers. This is the smallest this department has been in nearly 10 years. And it's also the highest level of violence we've seen in nearly 10 years. So those things coincide to me. I believe that there's a need for additional officers, additional resources to support our efforts. We've lost over 46 officers from this department in the last 4 months. That is a difficult gap to fill. And so we need these academies to help fill that gap. We need more additional officers in the ranks. We need to get them out into the field so that they can respond to these 911 calls for service, as well as help us address the violent crimes that we spoke of so far.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
So, folks, that ends this very sad press conference, and very, I guess I should say shameful, because this is how I look at it. The mayor of Oakland should be standing by the side of Oakland Police Chief Lauren Armstrong. Okay. Well, I'm broadcasting this 3,000 miles away in a city, in a region where, when problems like that happen, we see the current mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, giving that crime report. We don't see at all. We don't see the chief of police doing it. We see the elected mayor of Atlanta doing it, who appointed the chief of police. So Libby should be there on this occasion. Bad news, so what? The leader stands with the people who she appointed to fight crime. But the fact of the matter is that she's not there, and then the city council is interested in its own ambitions, its own initiatives, which have nothing to do with making neighborhood situations better to reduce crime. It is a fact that if you get money to businesses, small businesses in neighborhoods, to reduce mold, get better security, improve their condition in the wake of the pandemic and vandalism that caused by it, crime reduces. That is a studied fact. Yet, what has Oakland done in the wake of the signing into law by California Governor Gavin Newsom of AB 464 3 months ago approximately? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What's going on in this city is an outrage. You would say, that city. But, I still have my place in Adams Point that my friend's cleaning for me, I believe, this week. Don't have anybody living there. But I digress. My point is that we're in a situation where the city of Oakland really could take action, swift and effective action, to raise $1 billion from AB 464 to get money to Oakland small business. I am not going to stop talking about AB 464 until the city of Oakland actually implements a plan, not just passes it, but implements a plan based on AB 464. You would say, what is it? Glad you asked. AB 464 establishes zones in the city, pre-selected by the city staff working with the electeds in those areas, that would take the property tax dollars that normally go to part City of Oakland, part County of Alameda, part BART, part AC Transit, part EB Mud, bring them all to a special separate agency within the city to use that money by tax increment financing to float bond that would then give proceeds, upfront money, to use for a pre-made plan to get money to businesses via grants, for example, in those areas. We could help every small business in Oakland. And if you consider that small businesses are now done out of homes, you're really helping the homes of the people who live in Oakland, particularly at a time when remote work is common. You have many people establishing companies at home and running them successfully at home. This is common. But again, what has the city of Oakland done to activate AB 464? Nothing. And yet, we have some council members that complain about the Oakland Athletics using what's called enhanced industrial development financing zones for Howard Terminal. But folks, you can do the same thing. That's under another section of the law. In that case, they want to do it under SB 293 Skinner. But the father of all of these different enhanced industrial development zone legislations is SB 628 Beal. That was signed into law September 15th of 2015, okay? These tools are with us to be used right now. Oakland has never used but one, and the only one that has come closest to being used right now is for Howard Terminal. And so you have other officials in West Oakland and East Oakland saying, well, we're giving money to the billionaires. The fact of the matter is, it's not that we're giving money to billionaires. I'm not against Howard Terminal. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes to actually doing something to get money to our poor neighborhoods, the city consistently comes up short. It's like they want poor people to be poor. It's like they want these neighborhoods to be there. I don't know, I guess to have something to complain about so they can get elected by someone who's white. Oh, we have these problems that were there. We're trying to fix them. You're not. It's complete BS. Okay? So demand the city council enact a plan using AB 464. And stop blaming this stuff on the chief of police, which has nothing to do with economic development. This is an economic development problem. You say it's a crime problem. I say people who say it's a crime problem don't understand how cities work. Crime doesn't just happen. It happens for a reason. It happens because you have people who are frustrated with their lot, who have chosen to take drastic action because of what that scenario, that situation has done to them mentally. That situation seldom involves a nice neighborhood with a person with a nice car who has their bills paid, who's not worried about getting evicted or anything else, or who hasn't created other problems for themselves because of their situation, other criminal problems. All right? We established, and I told former councilman Gibson McElhaney it was a mistake. She got mad at me, to establish the Department of Violence Prevention because the nature of the department is to be activated after a violent act occurs. So you're not preventing violence. You're not preventing violence. If we are preventing violence, then why are we talking about the 100 homicide in Oakland on this day? Just a question. Just a question. Okay? We have huge problems we need to solve. We need competent city management. I said it just like that. We need people who care about Oakland across the board, agency to agency. And where those people are, if they're just there drawing a check, they're not helping us. They're not helping us. AB 464 will straighten this out. If they say we don't have enough money to do those other programs, we do. We can get it. And not only that, I'm pleased to report that in the past, Oakland did do that sort of thing. I remember when Henry Gardner was city manager, he's now the executive director for the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority. He told me that we used redevelopment monies to remove crack houses in East Oakland. We can use AB 464 to finance Head Start programs. You listening to me? Head Start programs in Oakland. Read the legislation. I'm begging you, read the legislation. It's there. All right, I have to go. Subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Share this video. That ends this broadcast.